Night radio station, promise on the playlist card. The radio station after midnight is less a workplace than a pulse. By day it's press releases, sponsor copy, interns wrangling phone lines. At night the halls dim to a gentle hum, the red on air sign the only confident light, the city asleep but listening. I swiped in with my guest badge, my phone face down in my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home, and let the elevator sigh me to the 10th floor. The carpet smelled faintly of burnt coffee and secrets. Back home, Daniel had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch is a courtroom when it wants to be. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in. I left before we rehearsed testimony that would taste like regret over breakfast. On the elevator, my screen lit with a message from C. Caleb in my contacts, C in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Studio B just talk. He didn't add a second line. He trusts me to carry the weight myself. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs for an ad agency that believes clarity sells better than truth. By night, I try not to turn my own into weapons. Daniel and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but please don't wander too far. Caleb drifted back into orbit 2 months ago when the agency bought ad space on his late-night show. He walked me through the studio then, headphones around his neck, sleeves pushed, voice lower in person than the FM band ever allowed. He laughed like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. Studio B glowed like a secret cockpit. A console of sliders waited with the patience of well-trained cats. Vinyl sleeves leaned in precarious stacks. The on air sign pulsed its soft, unblinking dare. Caleb sat in the chair, mic tilted away, a playlist card in his hand like a confession note. He turned, and his smile was both practiced and reckless. "You came," he said, "because men never tire of pretending a rival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My headphones, your restraint." "Your name," I told him. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He set the playlist card on the console, took a Sharpie from the mug, and slid both toward me. The card's back was blank, an invitation as wide as the static between songs. "3 words," he said. "Why are you here?" "3 words is cruel," I said. "That's why they work." He adjusted a fader, dropped a jazz track under our voices, and leaned back. "No speeches with the mic open. The city hears what it wants." I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the ink as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps in training, and fell back to the console like the monitors had voted no. "Does he know?" Caleb asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. He queued up the next record with the care of a man adjusting time itself. "Listeners believe the DJ is speaking only to them," he said. "It's a lie that keeps them alive." "And us?" I asked. "We're on the same frequency, but it won't last," he said, almost kindly. Heat arrived before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. He leaned close enough that I felt the static crackle between us. "Tell me no," he said, the most indecent line in his catalog. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and late coffee and something citrus borrowed from another man's kitchen. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned not to hate when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Studios punish haste with dead air. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the place behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. Do you swear? Then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled into my mouth a truth nobody else tuned in for. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because microphones prefer pros. The city outside didn't know we were speaking live in a language only two men could translate. We already cheated, he said when breath remembered its job. We cheated the night we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home. I know, I said, and the track faded to silence as if agreeing. He slid the playlist card into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once, choosing not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. I booked a hotel down the block, he said, not triumphant. Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at the window and not touch for 60 seconds just to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest. I'm tired of being clever, I said. Clever's a chorus, he said. Accurate is verse. He reached into the swag drawer and pulled out a novelty magnet shaped like a tiny cassette tape, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. For your fridge, he said. Cold helps letters behave. He faded up another track, dimmed the lights further, and let the room breathe. Text me a weather report in the morning, he said. Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons. It usually does, I said, when we let it. The lobby smelled like paper cups and fatigue. The crosswalk gave me time, I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Daniel sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the pose manuals use when they draw people trying not to break. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the space beside him. I sat. Do you want to be asked? He said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. Please, I said, because prompts are scaffolding for better selves. Are you lonely? Some nights, I said. Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to check I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and believed me. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I'm useful. Tonight's procedure, I said. Touch first, argue second, report later. The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the playlist card beneath the cassette magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Daniel read the ink in his mouth, did the smaller, braver thing. He picked up the dry erase marker and wrote beneath the magnet, Tomorrow, keep the torque. He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says radio and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The card in my pocket learned the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I drafted messages to no one that began I didn't ask because I thought that counted as kindness and ended may your breakfast go right. I didn't send them. The not sending felt like a skill borrowed from FM static. Fill the silence without lying. A week later, afternoon tried to be a test. A client demanded passion without risk. The city invented new rain just to prove it could. I walked past the station and bought nothing. I left a bottle of water at the staff door with a note, "For whoever is waiting for a sister." The night tech glanced up and gave me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slipped a blank CD sleeve into my pocket and wrote "Turn toward your name" across the clean side. I didn't light anything. Caleb and I adjusted our grammar, fewer messages. No hotel rooms with curtains that forgave too much. If we failed quieter. If we stopped without applause. Still, we orbited. He texted a photo of a setlist with my initials hidden between track titles. I replied with steam curling over 2 mugs and Daniel's unshowy script under the magnet, Torque. We flirted by playlists. We confessed by dead air. Storm Light tried to turn the city biblical one evening. The transmitter hiccuped. He texted, "Tower surge, need hands, no audience." I was 6 blocks away and too willing. We coaxed the board back to life, pleaded with cables, begged sound to remember itself. When the meters steadied, he leaned into me and kissed with the hunger of someone who had borrowed time. My back hit the soundproofing foam. His hand found my hip. Somewhere a mic blinked like a witness too professional to snitch. We didn't rush. We mapped mercy with our mouths and rehearsal with our hands. His palm slipped under my shirt and paused, "Do you swear?" Then moved with deliberate grammar. I bracketed him with a grip he could leave without proving anything. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because silence was already doing the work. "We're bad at quitting," he said into my jaw. "We're good at failing differently," I said into his collar. He pressed his forehead to mine like a man confessing into static. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he said. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." Daniel met me at home with the posture of a question he wasn't sharpening. He smelled like basil and compromise. "Hungry?" he asked, not as a trap. We ate toast like it had just been invented. After, he wrote under the magnet, "Ask before leaving." I wrote, "Hold me first." We left the words there, ridiculous and effective. On a Tuesday flat enough to be honest, I told him the inventory. Caleb's name, the studio, the fence I kept performing by leaning on it. He didn't arrive as saint or judge. He said, "Stay while you learn the thing you say you want to learn, but don't make me background noise." Breakfast became a place with rules. No phones at the table. No rehearsed cruelty before coffee. No pretending tomorrow is a closet where tonight can hang unexamined. I turned the playlist card over and added 3 new words: "Choose the hard." Daniel watched me write and didn't ask for a receipt. Weeks learned their lines. We fail and fail differently and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under a red on air sign pretending to know which song will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. I still carry the playlist card in my left pocket. It warms to my thigh like a secret with stubborn gravity, heavier than paper has any right to be. Proud at breakfast. Touch before arguing. Choose the hard. None of it is noble. All of it is procedural, like broadcast. You open the mic, you tell the truth you can afford, and you trust someone out there needed exactly that noise tonight.